Mr. Birkin presents adding and subtracting decimals. All right, so we've got some problems to work through. So let's say you're given a problem in class. 1 and 2/10 plus 3 and 41/100ths, right? Okay, we know our place value, so we should be able to read those numbers. Now, if I want to add them up, I put one number on top. The commutative property of addition tells me it doesn't matter which one I put on top, right? They can go commutative means this way or this way, doesn't change the problem, right? So I'm going to put the 1.2 on top, which is 1 and 2/10. Now, I need to line up my decimals. Most important thing when adding or subtracting decimals is line up your decimals. So first thing I'm going to do is just stick my decimal right under it. Now I look and say, okay, what's in front of my decimal? There's a 3. What's behind my decimal? A 4. Notice I'm lining up my tenths and my tenths. And look, I have a 1 in the hundredths place. Put my line underneath and my plus sign. Now, this kind of bugs me having just empty space there, right? So I can annex a 0 in. Doesn't change the number at all. 1 and 2/10 is exactly the same value as 1 and 20/100ths. Okay? So I annexed a 0 in there just to make it so it doesn't look odd that I'm adding 1 and nothing. Of course, the math word for nothing is 0. So that works. 1 plus 0 is 1. 2 plus 4 is 6. I bring my decimal straight down. Straight down. And 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay? Most important things. When you're adding or subtracting decimals, line up your decimals. Number 2, second most important thing is get your decimal in the right place in your sum or your difference. Bring it straight down. So 1 and 2/10 plus 3 and 41/100ths equals 4 and 61/100ths. Now, what about if I'm adding money? It's the same exact thing. So I'm going to take $37, and again, doesn't matter what we put on top in addition. That's that commutative property of addition. I'm going to put $7.99 down below, and notice I am lining up my decimals. So important. Line up your decimals. So, again, I start at the right and add just like I've been adding since first grade. 9 plus 5, ooh, that gives me 14. So down here I write my 4, but I have that extra 10 left over. That's going to go into the tenths place over here, plus 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. I write my 0, and again I've got that extra 10. Well, I know that 10/10 equals 1 whole, so I'm going to bring that 1 over to the ones place. Now, right now, before I forget it, I'm going to look and go, yep, straight down. Bring that decimal straight down. All right? 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 1 more is 15. I write my 5 and carry over my 1, which in this case is a 10. And 3 plus 1, that is 4. It's in the tens place, so it's 40. And my last step is put my dollar sign in. So if I take $37.05 and I add $7.99, I'm going to get exactly $45.04. I could have approximated 37 plus 8, okay, which would have given me 7 plus 8 is 15, would have given me $45. All right, so pretty close, even if you estimate. All right, now let's switch over to subtracting. Now subtracting is a little bit different because it does matter what number goes on the top. Okay, so when you have a subtraction problem like this one, you have 8 and 51/100ths minus 3 and 2/10, right? So first thing I need to do, put my first number up top, which will just happen to be the bigger of the two numbers. But if you have it written out, you have to put the first number on top, okay? And that'll be your bigger number. Then I put the smaller number down below. Now, again, I've got a decimal point that I have to line up, so I'm going to go ahead and stick in my decimal point. I have a 3 in front of the decimal point, and I have a 2 behind the decimal point. Put my line in my subtraction. Now again, this kind of bugs me. This is nothing here, right? But I'm going to annex a 0 in there because 0 is the math term for nothing. That digit represents nothing. So, and it doesn't change the value at all. It's exactly the same value. So now I can just do my subtracting the way I've always done it. 1 minus 0 is 1. 5 minus 2 is 3. Again, very important. Bring that decimal down. Come straight down. 8 minus 3 is 5. So if I have 8 and 51 hundredths, and I subtract 3 and 2 tenths, my difference is going to be 5 and 31 hundredths. All right, one more. What about subtracting money? Which of course means spending it, something we all love to do, spending money. So let's say I walk into the store with $21. That's going to be my number up on top, $21. And I spend $8.95. So if I'm spending it, I'm subtracting it. So I'm going to subtract, and again, put my decimal straight down there. In front of my decimal, I have an 8. Line it up. Behind my decimal, I have 95. Again, lining up your tenths with your tenths, hundredths with your hundredths. Remember, place value never goes away. You got to know your place value. So 0 minus 5 I can't do. And I can't borrow from a 0, can I? So I'm going to come all the way over here and I'm going to cash in my $1. So now I gave away my 1 to here, and so now that's 0. Now if I'm making a dollar out of dimes, okay, this is the tenths place, that's dimes, I have 10 of them, right? 10 tens makes $1. So now I have 10. Now, can I borrow from 10? Sure. So I borrow 1 from my 10. That becomes 9. And now I still have 10. 10 here. I traded in 1 dime for 10 pennies, basically, is what you just did. So 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 9 is 0. Uh-oh. 0 minus 8 I can't do, so again I'm going to borrow from my tens place over here. So I'm going to borrow 1 10, so 2 minus 1 is 1. And now I have 10 tens, right? So 10 minus, I have 10 ones rather. So 10 minus 8 gives me 2. Ooh, what did I forget to do? Really important. Bring that decimal down. So important. 1 minus nothing, which is 0. 1 minus 0 is 1. And my last step, since it's money, I'm going to put my dollar sign there. $12.05. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to do when you are adding or subtracting decimals. Just practice it a lot. Most important things, line up your decimals, bring your decimal down. Okay? If you remember those two things and you remember your basic addition and subtraction, you should do just fine.